This is my client Brock, who lost 15 kilos in 17 weeks in my coaching program. I'm Vaughan, I'm a pro natural bodybuilder, and I run Team Locked In Coaching. Let's get into the video. When Brock first hired me, he was weighing around 89 kilos, and by the end of week 17, he was a lean, mean 74 kilos and looking bloody phenomenal. The first thing you need to do when you start a fat loss diet is create a nutrition structure. And I do not mean, I'll just eat healthy. I'll just cut out some carbs and hope for the best. The problem with eating healthy is it's going to work for a couple of weeks for sure, but then what happens when you inevitably plateau? Are you just going to eat healthier? What happens when you cut your carbs all the way down to zero and then you plateau? You can't drop your carbs below zero. You can't have a negative value, right? So you need to understand your calories and your macros. This is the only foolproof, guaranteed method of getting the result that you want. When Brock started with me, I had him on a 2,600 calorie target with 200 grams of protein. Brock did not have any experience tracking his calories or macros, and so I provided for him a sample meal plan template. And this is something I would recommend for you as well, to create that structure. It's essentially 4.5 meals, 4 meals plus a snack. We've got a protein, a carb, a fat, and either a fruit or a veg at every single meal. Just regular healthy eating that controls for the calories and the macros, but still has plenty of options, plenty of flexibility. There's literally probably 1,000 options between all of these combinations, and you'd never get sick of them. The next adjustment you need to make, you need to increase your output as much as possible before reducing your calories. Creating the nutritional structure alone is probably going to be enough to help you see progress within a few weeks. Even if your calories are still relatively high, like Brock's were at 2,700, we still saw good progress there, because the truth is 2,700 calories is going to be a deficit for most guys above 80, 85, 90 kilos. But eventually you will plateau there. So we have two options. Either we increase your output or we reduce the calories. I want you to increase your output first. This is called high flux dieting or high energy dieting. We've got lots of energy coming in to fuel our training sessions so that we can still grow or at least maintain all of the muscle that we've got. But we're also burning lots of calories, lots of energy to burn the body fat so that we can drive the scale weight down, get the result we want at the end of the day. On top of that, there's a lot of research showing that the more steps you take per day, the longer you will live. And I know that sounds like a big statement, but there's plenty of research. On the left-hand side here, we have the hazard ratio, which essentially means the risk of all-cause mortality, so the risk of dying from all causes. And then down here we have average daily steps. So you'll see, if you are currently doing 5,000 steps per day and you bump that up to 10,000, your risk of dying is going to be reduced significantly. This is one of the best things you can do for your health. On top of this, I love this for fat loss transformations in particular, because there's nothing magic about walking or low intensity cardio per se. We don't care about whether cardio burns carbs or fats, we just care about the calories that it burns. The thing about walking is it's low impact, so it's not going to fatigue you, it's not going to impact your workouts, your training sessions, which are vital. You need to be training hard to maintain your muscle, to maintain your metabolism too. Walking as well is not going to increase your hunger. So if we start going for a run, if we start doing high intensity interval training, HIIT, both of those things have been known to increase appetite. And that's why a lot of people kill themselves doing cardio, and then unfortunately they go back and eat back even more calories than they burned, and they don't realize, because they're probably doing cardio and eating healthy, but they're not controlling for their calories and macros. This is why you need to focus on increasing your output as much as you can before you think about reducing calories further. Eventually though, you're going to get to a point where your steps are so high that you can't actually increase them any further. So I set Brock a target of a 14,000 average daily step count. He clocked in almost 17,000 average daily steps. Over the weekend, he was clocking in 20,000 step days. This is how you get the result. You don't have to be doing 20,000 steps, but if you are, it's really going to help. It's really going to help you. Eventually, though, like we discussed, you're going to have to reduce the calories at some point. So by week 13, Brock had dropped 89 to 76, about 13 kilos, and I now had him on about 2,200 calories 5 days of the week, and then 2 refeed days at 2,800 calories, give or take. Something else to bear in mind is with all of my coaching clients, I have a predicted low weigh-in for the week, so I can roughly predict exactly where you're going to be at week 4, 8, 12, 16, so on and so forth. I had predicted Brock's low to be 76.17, and sure enough we got 76.1. So this is a great sign to me that he's right on track at the stage of the transformation. Just wanted to show you what a typical week would look like. So this was week 14. Calories had stayed the same. We've dropped weight again. Steps still phenomenally high. And you can really see from 14 weeks, it's really visible now. You know, the V lines have really come through. The love handles, so to speak, are gone. We're just waiting on really just the abs to pop through over these last couple of weeks before the transformation is really complete. But he's done exceptionally well by this point onwards, and we're still right on track with our predicted low weigh-in for the week. Your goal in your fat loss diet is to lose 0.5 to 1.5% of your body weight per week. It's going to be 1 to 1.5% at the start when you've got more body fat to lose. And also in the first week in particular, you're going to lose a bit of glycogen, which is carbohydrates stored in the muscle, lose a bit of water weight. That's naturally going to come off. So the first week you might even lose 2% of your body weight. Don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Just continue on as you are and be happy you're seeing good results. But by week 2, you really want it to be back within that bandwidth of 0.5 to 1.5%, because if you diet too fast, if you lose weight too quickly, you risk losing muscle. And if you risk losing muscle, you risk down-regulating your metabolism, and that's when you get stuck. That's when you really hit a plateau where your calories are so low, your output's so high, but nothing's happening. It's a hard phase to dig yourself out of. Sometimes you need to go back up before you can go back down again, which means you're not going to get the result for a good few weeks, if not months. Towards the end of your diet, so once you're leaner, so from this point onwards, when Brock is already exceptionally lean, you can see we're targeting a rate of loss of 0.5% here. That's because you're leaner, you're at a greater risk of muscle loss, essentially. So that's why we slow it down by that point onwards. Here's your setup. So you're going to set your protein at 2.2 gram per kg of body weight. Some research shows 1.6 gram per kg is completely fine. I would recommend going 2.2 grams per kg. You're going to set your fats at 0.7 grams per kg of your body weight, and your carbs are going to fill up all of the rest of your calories. If you don't know your calories, just Google calorie calculator or what's my calorie deficit, or better yet, put it into ChatGPT, because then it'll ask you a few other questions and it'll actually give you a very accurate reading. All calorie calculators are the same. They all use one of two equations. There is not one calorie number or target that is going to take you from where you are right now to your goal physique. So do not waste your time thinking about what's the best calorie calculator. This one says this one says that. You need to just pick one and get started and see whether you're in your bandwidth for your rate of loss. If you lose 0.5 to 1.5% of your body weight in that first week, amazing, that calorie target is working for you. Eventually though, it's not, and you're going to drop below the 0.5% rate of loss target. At that point, it's time for you to make an adjustment. When you make an adjustment, you're going to drop 90 to 100 calories per time. That'll be either 10 grams of fats or 25 grams of carbs. Do not touch your protein. As we talked about, your protein is at 2.2 gram per kg of body weight. There's some research which shows 1.6 gram per kg is sufficient, but there's also other research showing going as high as 3 grams per kg of lean body mass is what's going to help you maximize your muscle retention in a calorie deficit. So if we set you at 2.2 grams per kg of your starting body weight, then as your body weight trickles down, you're naturally going to get towards the 3 grams per kg of lean weight anyway. If that didn't make sense to you, don't worry. Just do not touch your protein when you're making these calorie adjustments. Also, do not let your fats drop below 0.5 gram per kg of your body weight. This is the minimum of the healthy range for optimal hormonal function. Plus, fats are important for things like vitamin absorption, but the main thing we care about in a physique transformation is keeping your testosterone levels as elevated as possible. And because we're getting you pretty lean, the leaner you get, the more we risk potentially down-regulating your testosterone levels at a certain point. For most people, getting leaner is healthier and will improve your testosterone, but at a certain point, your testosterone will actually diminish. We don't want to be not having enough fats to synthesize new hormones on top of that. So never let your fats drop below 0.5 gram per kg of your body weight. Usually, throughout your transformation, you're going to get 1 to 2 fat reductions across the time frame. And then the rest of it, you're just always going to have to be dropping carbs at a certain point. So when you're dropping carbs, you're dropping 25 grams of carbs per week. So essentially per day, but you're adjusting on a weekly basis. And as you do this, you're naturally going to need to gravitate towards higher satiety carbohydrate options. So at the start of your diet with Brock, when he was on 2,700 calories, amazing. He's got so much flexibility there. He can eat rice, he can eat pasta, he can eat pizza, he can eat bread. But as the calories get lower and lower and lower, by the time they were around that 2,000 or 2,100 mark, eventually then you need to be selecting high satiety food options like potatoes, pumpkin. All fruits and vegetables are amazing carbohydrate sources. You can, instead of having like a small amount of rice, you can have a bit of rice and top it up with cauliflower rice. Mix it together, you won't even taste the difference. But you need to be doing this because the number one thing that is going to kill your diet is hunger. When you're hungry, it's very, very hard to resist the temptations that you need to resist to stick to your nutrition plan. And if we can alleviate the hunger by having these big, high satiety, high volume meals that are packed with fruit, veg, fibrous carbs, and just carbs that are going to keep you really full, that's the best thing you can do for your diet. Guys, this was not easy. Brock went through a lot through this transformation. I don't want to make it seem as if this was easy. He moved states across Australia throughout this time, went through a breakup across this time, and in hindsight it was the best thing for him because now he's with an amazing girl living in an amazing part of the country. But it was a really difficult time frame, so I don't want you to think that it's easy, because going through something like this does require an immense amount of willpower. But as you can see from his face, it's so worth it. Proving to yourself that you can do this and then having the body you want, it's absolutely worth it. If you would like to talk about joining the Locked In coaching program and hiring me as your coach, click the top link in the description.